I'm here.
Vice Mayor Zapata,
I'm here.
Councilman Best,
Present.
Councilwoman Mitchell,
Here.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Please stand for invocation. We have Councilman Best.
Heavenly Father, I dedicate my invocation tonight, first off, to the success of our meeting, that you watch over us, pay attention to our deliberations, but most importantly, the Republican Senator of Arizona, John Sidney McCain. Senator McCain was a person that defied demography. He knew how to heal an issue. He knew how to cross the aisle. He knew how to bring America together. And even though I never voted for the man in my life, I certainly feel that the tragedy that he experienced in his life, his service in the United States Air Force and in the Senate for 36 years, is a lesson for the nation. Let us always remember this warrior's accomplishments, and may he rest in peace. A moment of silence for John McCain. Amen.
Right hand over your heart, and we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands. Okay.
He was a Navy man.
Good evening to everybody. Nice to see faces in the audience in the council chamber for a change. We have start off first with 4A, Officer of Month Award. Chief, you have the floor.
Initiating this stuff.
But we got him, right? We got him.
Good job, Sarge.
Thank you.
officer. You want to take a picture with your family?
Yes, if I can.
Bring them up. Whatever you want to do. You're the boss.
Pictures now or pictures after?
I'll shoot it now if you want, whatever you want.
Let me just say something real quick. You know, I don't want to underestimate what Sergeant Sandoval said. Miami Springs is blessed in that you have a relatively low crime rate. It's mostly property crime. But I'll tell you, every night when I go to sleep, I say a prayer for my son who's a police officer and my sons and daughters who are police officers of the city of Miami Springs. Because just as this individual, you know, what our officers encounter, sometimes not exactly knowing what they're walking up against, is something that, you know, the hair in the back of my neck stands. So please never forget your officers. Say a prayer for them. And to add to what Sergeant Sims is saying, all our firearms that we recover, casings, bullets, anything, we send to what's called NIBINS. That stands for the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network. So they have all this data on firearms, bullets, and casings that have been used in other crimes. So this gun was taken in a burglary. However, it was used in a shooting in June in Opelika. It was used in an armed carjacking in the city of Miami. It was used in a shooting at a residence in Miami-Dade, a shooting, an aggravated assault in Miami-Dade, another shooting at a residence in Miami-Dade, used in a homicide in Miami Gardens, and used in a homicide in Miami-Dade County.
All since June.
All within that time period.
Unbelievable.
So not only did he take several dangerous individuals off the streets, but now they have a key piece of evidence linking all these crimes to one firearm. So that in and of itself is extraordinary work. So congratulations.
Microphone, Jason. Jason.
This one of you. Let me see.
Jacob.
That's good.
Jacob, get the microphone.
No, I'll talk.
Okay, all right. Yeah. We want the people to hear you.
Yeah, because
We
it's
want people to hear you.
only because it's recorded. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make it short, quick. I'm a bit of an emotional wimp. I get emotional during things like this, speeches like this. But I can't accept this alone. I need to acknowledge my shift that was with me, my midnight shift. So please, Officer Sandoval, Officer Castillo, and Officer Vargas.
Here we go, guys. Good. Again, one more, please. Thank you.
Okay, after you finally make the decision to finally arrest somebody, there's a lot more that goes after that. It's not slap some handcuffs on, take them down to the jail, and you're done. Especially something like this, 4 subjects, vehicle need to be towed, firearms need to be impounded, property need to be released to victims. Had I have done that myself or anything like that, it would have taken hours and hours. I would have even had to come back the next day and finished. They helped me out big time, even from the top. My sergeant was out there doing everything. So without them, you know, I would have been hurting. So thank you guys.
Nice.
After that, I want to thank the city of Miami Springs. Thank you, Chief. Some federal officers that showed up to support me. Officer Castillo, Officer Pacheco. I'm sorry, Sergeant. The cold looks like soap to me, I'm sorry. Lastly, my mom, she made me the man I am today. And my wife, without her, nothing was possible. She raises my 2 kids while I'm out working. So I owe it all to her. Thank you everybody.
I don't know. No.
A lot of shots. Hold on. Okay, hold on. One more, please. One more.
Oh, thank you.
If the council doesn't mind, I'll shoot family real quick.
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
One last thing I forgot I wanted to. Yes, those people are out there. Yes, they're very dangerous. But I want you all to know, so are we. We're out there and we're dangerous.
Thank you for watching over us. Oh my gosh.
Anybody out there that can stop me, no matter who you are.
Oh, look at
Hold
him.
it, the picture, okay?
Okay,
Está
good.
sacando la lengua.
Good.
No.
Yes.
Smile.
Can you spin that little one?
Thank you.
Back round.
Do I hear Bill's laugh somewhere?
Yes, he's here. He's right there.
Where?
All the way in the back.
Oh. Oh.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
You're fine, Wally. No problem. Good night.
Tom's got to control him sometimes, you know.
Okay, we're who? Wally?
Yeah.
There's no control. Maria? Is it Maria? The first one to sign up. You?
Mayor, we got
Did
another
Yeah,
presentation.
presentations.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got all excited with the. That was pretty good what our police officers do for this
Yes.
community.
Yep.
That was very nice.
Who knows
Um,
what protected us from?
And the way they speak, that was good too. First class. That's a good one. First class. We go to a presentation for the Boy Scouts for a flag burning pit project.
Yes, Mayor, about a couple of months ago, David Paul, Troop 334, and his mom came to see me about a project that he has in mind for building a flag burning pit by the War Memorial. We've been working back and forth. He's got a little presentation. I also asked him to get together with Eric Ritchie as to what they were planning to build, the location and all that, and they've been working together on it.
Thank you, Chief.
And he's here tonight to make a small presentation to you.
Good evening, Mayor Bain and Council. My name is David Paul. I'm a Life Scout from Troop 334 here in Miami Springs and also a senior at Miami Springs Senior High. Thank you for having me here tonight to present my proposal for my Eagle Scout project. With the generous guidance of the city manager and assistant city manager, I present to you my proposal tonight. With your approval, I would like to build a permanent place within the city to retire flags. My proposal is to build a propane fire pit next to the War Memorial on Curtis Parkway. The placement will be on the south side of the War Memorial. It will be built to code on a reinforced concrete slab that measures 10 by 6. The pit itself will be 4 by 6 with a metal cover that can be secured. I would like for it to be used during city events and personal memorials that can be coordinated with the city and the Boy Scouts. And this is my final step to become an Eagle. This project will let me learn leadership and give the community something to benefit from.
Thank you.
Have you, are you asking, through the chair, are you asking that we fund this, or do you have some cost attached to this?
There is some cost attached to it. Donations from the city will be more than welcome. I'm just having this right here just to see if I could get approval for it, and then I'll work on the fundraising and all the material costs and all that.
So you want a consensus going forward, basically?
Yeah.
In other words, we agree to do this.
Yeah, just if I could get approval.
Where are you at with this, city manager? Where are you? Where are we in the process?
As long as we get consensus, we already talked to the building inspector about what's needed out there, and I think you both agreed on the location on the south side would be okay. And as David mentioned, this propane tank would only be installed when it's actually going to be
Used.
When there's an
Used.
event, right.
And as far as overseeing it, it's going to be the responsibility of the scouts
Right.
and the city
Right.
and the city combination.
Right, as far as the making sure it's built to code and all
No,
that.
no, I
we
mean
would-
as far as the function when you're going to use it.
Oh, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
use it for, we have Veterans Day events, we have annual events, so, or whenever, I mean, how many events do you foresee doing every year?
Well, there's Memorial, Veterans, the Flag Day.
June
It's
14th.
just a place to properly retire flags.
Right, right. Because I'm looking also besides the holidays or the days of, you also can have it something like when we do the shredding.
For shred-
Maybe-
yeah, exactly.
Maybe have a couple days during the year where multiple flags can be retired at the same time. So I don't see anything.
Ma-
The
Mary-
manager and they've already talked about where to put it.
Got my total support, sir.
I think we can give consensus to continue.
Yes.
With a little bit of more of a, in my mind, a little bit more of how that's going to be scheduled and so on.
Okay.
A little more of a plan.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right.
Well, thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, Dave.
We have the presentation from the airlines. They're not here tonight, huh?
We're not here, we're gonna
Okay.
pull that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we also are pulling
Yeah.
12A?
12A. That's for the Optimus,
Mhm.
the Optimus function. They're not going to do. They're decided they're not going to do it. Somebody scratched that out of my agenda already. Who did that?
Who did that?
Okay, touching my stuff.
Oh.
Okay, now we can go to open forum.
Yep.
You have the floor. Delgado, is that how you say last name? Dorrego. Okay.
I have some letters and some pictures attached about what I'm going to talk about. I come here looking for some help because we have an issue going on with a charter school and the residences that are adjacent to this charter school. They have poor planning and mismanagement of the drop-off, pickup arrangements for the children. So the parents are parking in our driveway. They're blocking our driveways and treating the street as if it's a parking lot, blocking it so that nobody can come in and out as they wait for their kids in the entrance. They park in our swales and they litter. We've tried several solutions. We call the police, which is a trivial matter for the police, but they take an hour to get there, so by the time they get there, all the parents have gone and they don't really suffer any consequences of what they're doing. We've politely asked for them to move. They become confrontational, sometimes combative. The majority of them don't even live here because it is a charter school, anybody else can attend. So they don't really know what it is, beautiful Miami Springs, and they don't really care either. So we're looking for some help. We called City Works and they told us to write a letter, which is what we did. It's signed by about 20 of us that have this issue going on. And we're just trying to see what we can do or how you guys can help us.
Well,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Could I ask, is it in the morning and afternoon?
We don't. We just open forum.
Both, thank you.
Alberto?
Good afternoon. I'm basically supporting her. The way we found out is she gets the few houses that are in front of the school get the worst. But as the years has gone through and it's gotten worse and worse, and it says sometimes it doesn't affect me, but now it's affecting me. I'm the third house already. But now they're even parking at the beginning. We have signatures all the way from the second house of Makina on the other side. So it's littering, it's noise. They run an after-school care, which it's fine, but kids are supposed to make noise. It's normal, but I'm like 450 feet away, and I could hear them. I could imagine those that are close. So it's a problem. The parking, it's a problem. Parking, littering, traffic, and we, I've been here since 2004. I bought an old house, I fixed it. I used to come, before I made that purchase, I said, I only have one chance to get this right because I had lost money in the stock market. And I said, Miami Springs is the place to do it. And I knew the school was there, and I found out exactly what it was. And the charter school just creeped in. As we start talking to other neighbors, they said, well, it was approved by the council here. And I know there is an issue because you even have to put police officers in the charter school right now. So we have an issue as, Miami Springs residents. And if it doesn't bother a lot of guys, it's because you guys don't live there. But you have to live there. You have to live. It's easy. I took a thing saying they wanted to build a skateboard park, and I said, "Wait, you crazy? A skateboard park? Look at all these things." And I came here, and eventually didn't get built, but it wasn't the right place. And we're here for your help, and we're here. The whole thing is that the entrance is through LeBaron, and they're using the other side, but some other parents are parking in Mokina and in LeBaron.
Okay.
So I just don't want to take no more time.
No, you're fine. That's good.
All right. Thank you, and hopefully we could solve that problem.
You got it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Gene.
Give me your name and your phone number.
Yes.
You pick the mic up to you, since you're so tall.
I'm a very tall guy, yeah.
Yes, you are.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, good evening. My name is Jean-Marc, and I'm a resident of Miami Springs.
Be in touch with you.
I'm also a driver of an electrical vehicle.
Okay. Give me your
I drive a pre-owned 2015 Nissan Leaf, and I've been driving this slim car for the past 9 months. If any of you has never been in an electric vehicle before, I highly encourage you to test drive one, or to find me after the meeting, and I'll be happy to give you a ride. Tonight, I'd like to voice my support for Miami Springs installing an EV charging station for several reasons. The acronym EV stands for electrical vehicle. First, I'm not the only EV driver in Miami Springs. I've met many others at the Solar Co-op meeting held at the Rec Center this past January, and I've seen many other residents of the city driving electric too. The future of transportation is widely seen to be electric, with an estimated 870,000 electric vehicles currently on the road. And Miami Springs will have more and more EV drivers as the price of the cars continue to decline, and we have more pre-owned EVs entering the market too. An EV charging station would be a great way to show these future EV drivers that the city support electric driving and renewable energy. As a taxpayer here, I love the idea that my tax dollars will help go toward paying for the cost of a station to support a technology that has numerous returns, not just for the EV driver, but for the community as well. As you may know, electric vehicles have zero tailpipe emission, improving air quality and therefore reducing healthcare costs. An electric vehicle reduces carbon emissions too. Electric vehicles are also significantly better for our local economy since they are fueled with electricity from the local grid, which is cheaper for all consumers compared to gas. The money not spent on gas or maintenance can be invested back into Miami Springs. Having a charging station in town will advertise the city and promote many businesses among the local resident EV driver, as well as the out-of-town EV drivers staying in the area or on a business trip or just visiting. In area where a charging station is located, EV drivers spend more at the local businesses while the car is being charged. That includes me also. Spend much more money when I go to public charging my car for free that I wouldn't do. There are different types of charging stations, and it is helpful to know the differences when deciding what to install in the city. Charging stations range from level 1 to level 7, which is defined by the speed of charging. Level 1 is just a station powered by a 110 volt current. This is the slowest charging option, offering about 5 miles of range per hour of charge. A level 2 station provides 240 volts, twice as many as level 1, and thus charges 4 times as fast as a level 1. Charging speed is about getting 20 miles of range per charging hour. A level 2 station is what most people think of when they think of electrical vehicle charging station. The level 2 charging station makes the most sense at places where an EV would be parked for at least an hour or so, such as restaurants, coffee shops, grocery store, etc. In terms of the cost for a level 2 EV charging station, which provide a charge of around 240 volts, the cost depends on the type of charging station purchased. Some stations offer level 1 charging in addition to the level 2. Cost can range starting anywhere from $25 for the station alone, and then potentially some additional electrical work depending on where the city decides to place the charging station. I'd be happy to work with the city on determining the right EV charging station for the city to purchase. I'd like also to point out that the cities of Doral, Coral Gables, Miami, and South Miami, just to name a few, have many level 2 chargers with free charging. So we can let our neighbor city be better than us. To conclude, I'd like to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. In addition to the benefits provided to the resident driving an electrical car and the many businesses within the city, we will also be starting a movement to reduce air pollution while promoting renewable energy and therefore make Miami Springs a better place for all to live and enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Very nice. Very nice. As far as the charter school and everything, I'm meeting with Al tomorrow at 5:30. So I'll be around there, so maybe I can see everything what you're talking about. So let you know. Huh? Yeah, but I work. I can't be there. I'm going to meet there, and I can see what's going on and everything. And then I guess the main thing is we have to get in touch with the principal and the pillars to be at that school to see if we can do something. Okay? Okay? All right? Okay. That concludes open forum. Thank you all for coming to speak. You always, you could have signed up, you know. Come on. Come on.
Uh-oh.
Come on. Just like at the chamber meeting, you got, go ahead.
I just wanted to get an update on the project for South Royal Poinciana. I know we were here a few weeks ago and discussed about, fixing the road, maybe changing it from 4 lanes to 2 lanes.
You mean as far as the study? Okay.
Yes, and any process or anything.
Contact the manager. I don't know if I have the information here tonight. Contact the manager and he'll give you a rundown on it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank
that was
you.
all.
By the way, I have a test for you. Hook up with me. I found one. Thank you so much. She knows what I mean.
Okay, thank you. We go to the 6A council meeting, August 13, 2018, regular meeting.
Through the chair, motion to approve.
Call a vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolando?
Yes.
Mayor Bank?
Yes, we go to consent agenda.
One item on the consent agenda, Mayor, 9A, resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, approving an increase of $3,000 to a purchase order for an overall purchase order value of $58,000 with U.S. Lubricants, LLC, for the fuel of the city's Golf and Country Club golf fleet by waiving competitive bidding, providing for authorization, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolano?
Yes.
Mayor Bay?
Yes. We go to 10A, request from Councilman Petrolanda for update on the Canal Street shuttle parking.
Yes, Mayor and Council. Councilman Petrolando requested that this item be included in the August 27th agenda for discussion. Attached to this packet is the agenda item that was discussed at the June 25th meeting. During that meeting, Council requested that we track the number of people using the shuttle service to the EB Hotel for transfer to the EB Airport Shuttle. Attached is a weekly log prepared by the shuttle company showing that 4 people rode to the EB Hotel from the city during the period of June 25th to August 21st.
All right, I guess I'll start. Here we are. I think this is the last puzzle. I'm sorry, this is the last piece of the puzzle to get this going. Now, I would argue that the fact that only 4 people wrote it is 2 reasons. First one is a lot of people didn't know it, and now they do, thanks to Tom and Bill Daly did an outstanding piece on the ribbon cutting for the EB Hotel. I think this is going to help get the word out that you don't need to use Uber. And if you read the article, you'll see you don't have to use Uber, you don't have to use Lyft. And by using our residents, by using this, we're going to get a lot of cars off the road that we don't need to have. The other reason I think it's not being used is there's nowhere to park. Now, I live 4 blocks away from the nearest spot. I think Vice Mayor Zapata lives a block and a half without you all don't have a sidewalk on your street, correct?
Correct.
So she would have to walk on the street to get to where the shuttle's going by. I have to walk a good 4 to 5 blocks to get to where the shuttle's at. My neighbor to my left, very busy, Mayor Garcia, very busy. I cannot count on him to give me a ride to the spot where this bus goes by. The person that lives to my right, very busy, he's on his own business. The person in front of me, very busy, he's a fireman. The person on his left, he's a marshal, a federal marshal, very busy. I don't live near anybody that could give me a ride. So I would argue that the reason this is not more successful, one, now people know about it because of the Gazette. Second reason is there's nowhere for me to park and get off and get on the shuttle. Okay, that's the second reason. Now, we talked about Canal Street. We had some concerns, and I heard them. And then I wrote it. I wrote the shuttle, and I realized stopping in Canal Street doesn't make any sense because you have to, before you get to the EB Hotel, it's about 50 minutes. So I didn't think Canal Street is a good spot to open up this shuttle, this overnight parking. Maximum, I'm thinking 2 days. That's up to everyone here. 2 days. So I thought maybe somewhere closer. So I started on Sunday. I drove around on my car, and I had to figure out a spot to do it between stop 9 and stop 11. That's why you folks have this tonight. I don't know if you have one.
It's included in the packet,
It's in our packet. I saw
Make
it.
a copy for
the
everybody.
map.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a few minutes. Between stop 9 and 11, if I could find a spot, a good spot to park cars there, it would take you about maybe 8 minutes to drive from one of those spots all the way to the B Hotel. You cut out about 48 minutes of the ride. So what I did yesterday is I drove around and I identified 2 spots. It would be Park Street, which is the one that goes, that would be east-west here on the and Morningside. There's an alley behind it with public parking. So I spoke to the city manager, and he kind of identified maybe we can put 2 spots back there and just give this a chance, rather than do it at the Canal Street. So I'm here tonight asking for you to give this give it a chance to work. You're missing a major piece of the puzzle for this to work. If you can't get to the shuttle, nobody's going to use it. And I'm not about to walk 4 blocks with 2 pieces of luggage. I was going to bring props tonight. I was going to bring the luggage that I take when I go to the League of Cities. I'm not walking 3, 4, 5 blocks away. You're the closest, you're closer than I am, you're about a block and a half. Everyone else is really far. How are you gonna get to the path? And like me, there's thousands of people in our city. So unless, in my opinion, unless we address this, it is not gonna work.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Councilman, and if we're talking about a trial period, I'm fine with that, but I just wanted to mention some things. First of all, the shuttle right now is running, and for anyone to get there, they can't park their car to get the shuttle. So the same thing that the shuttle's not close to you is, reality, whether or not you're going to the airport.
But this is,
You have to walk.
I'm addressing
Okay,
this.
but
I'm not addressing
what
other
I'm
parts
saying
of the
is,
thing.
no,
I
but
hear what you're saying.
you know what I'm saying, the
Making
shuttle
another
either way.
point, I think.
Okay. The other thing is that one of the great things about the shuttle is, I feel, is not just that we can get to the airport, it's the beginning of a way to get people from the airport who have a few hours of layover at the airport, an international flight, and they have 3 or 4 hours to kill, a really great way for them to ride the EB shuttle, get to Miami Springs, and then ride the shuttle around. And if nothing else, take a look at Miami Springs, but get off when they want, stretch their legs, walk on our bike paths, visit our restaurants, and get back. So it's a two-way street.
And you're working on that, I heard.
Well, and that's something that you've facilitated by doing all this work, which I think is wonderful. The other thing is that if we do this, and again, if we're doing a trial period, let's do a trial period. I mean, I don't have any problem with the trial period, but some people go away. When we go away, a lot of times we go away for a week. I would like to, so how do we limit it to 2 days? That's a business traveler then. Then we're facilitating business travelers, which business travelers can find their own ways to the airport. The other thing is, we have the police are already stretched at looking at vehicles that get broken into at night when they stand still. So I think this might, although we're only talking about a trial period, put an additional hardship on the police. And those are just things I'd like to mention. I think it's a fantastic project, and I really, as you know, I'm your biggest cheerleader on this. I think you've done a phenomenal job in putting this together, and not just to the airport, but you've made it so that we can actually get to Metrorail, to the Hialeah station. So that's amazing. Thank you.
Okay. Now, when we designed this idea, the city manager met with the police, so they are on board with it, and we hear you. It's stretching. I'm thinking this is for the business traveler. So I'm thinking maybe 1 to 2 overnight. How we're going to enforce it, that's up to the officer. But I think we should give it a shot. Just make it happen, see how much success there is. If there's none, then we just don't continue.
All right, make a motion. Make a motion where
Motion
you want to put the 2 spots.
Motion to start a trial basis with 2 spaces on Park Street and Morningside.
The public parking lot behind the Women's Club.
Right.
Is that going to affect anything with the women's club's parking?
No, it's going to remove 2 parking spaces.
Yeah.
But it's going to be closer to Morningside than it is to the Women's Club.
Councilman, is it possible to pick a site that doesn't, because the downtown businesses already, are complained about not having enough parking during the lunch crunch, somewhere that wouldn't deter, take away a parking space from them?
I want it to happen, so if you can come up with a better
What
idea.
about the golf course where we're thinking of a charging station?
Just the route doesn't
go
allow
by
it.
The golf, if you do it at the median, the golf course, you'd have to reroute the
Reroute the
entire
whole
shuttle.
thing.
Because the way it is right now, going to the EB Hotel, stop number 8 is a community center, 9 is the Women's Club, 10 is the middle school, and 11 is the EB Hotel.
The EB Hotel. So I drove it. That's really the only spot. The other idea I had was be in Canal Street, but when they get to the circle, they go into
Canal Street is
but then they have
stop
to come
number
around.
1. They would have to go through all the stops to get to 11.
Yeah, that's the problem. That would be the best spot. It would be closer to Morningside than it is to this side, because William had the concern that a lot of our employees park there, so we don't want to take up spaces. So I suggested on the alley behind the Women's Club, on the alley towards the as far as we can to Morningside. There's a lot less business over there than there is towards this side of the
Could we agree to
Park
a
Street.
trial period tonight and look, give some more thought to where, because I think it's really important that we're not tying up 2 spaces for 48 hours. from a business that could
For
use
2
it
days,
at
for
lunch.
3, I mean,
Right.
it's gonna
Well,
be.
well, the problem I have and the chief has is how are we gonna monitor 48, if you're there 2 days or if you're there a week?
That's something we have to address.
Well, you're
Now,
talking about
the
a
way
net-
the original memo was set up was a pilot program for 90 to 120 days, and it would be during this trial period on an honor system.
Right.
So, you know, you're not gonna be able to control whether they're there a day, 2 days, or 5 days.
Well,
You don't have the manpower.
Does
to
that
do
mean
it.
if the spot's open and the women's club's having a function, can they park in them spots?
Remember, it's further
Wait,
that
wait,
way.
wait, no, I didn't say it. That's not, if they have a function, they use all them spots. I'm asking you, are you making it limited only to parking for that? In other words, if the spots are open, can I go park there and walk to the women's club?
No, if you read the original memo, there's gonna be signs there that this is strictly for overnight parking for the
Thanks,
airport.
That way we can monitor it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, we can just eliminate it. Now, Mayor, this is gonna be closer to Morningside than it is to Park Street, which is where the women's club is at. So, I mean, my wife is part of the women's club, and I go to the events there, and I'll be honest, towards the Morningside side of the street, a lot of people don't park over there because that's kind of dark over there, and it's kind of far from the older folks walking into.
Well,
the,
remember you have those medical, facilities there by the corner, and they get a lot of activity.
William, if we can think of a better spot, I have no problem with it. I just want it to happen. I want to see if it's going to work. It doesn't have to be there. That's the only place I can think of.
Through the chair, I don't think this is ready for us to go forward, from what I'm hearing.
I disagree with you.
Well, we don't know where it's going to be. You just admitted yourself, Councilman, that if you have a better idea, let me know.
Well, I mean, I'm open for suggestions.
Right.
I'm not closed-minded enough to say, no, this is it. No, I'm open to suggestions. So if you can think of a better way to making it happen, I'll follow you to the end of the earth. But this is my idea. This is all I can come up with. We're up here. I'm asking for help. How's that?
I understand that, sir. I totally understand that. I don't see it going for where we have to make a decision to put a piece on it, to put a mandate on it. that
Well,
we're
not a
gonna
mandate, but you're missing the one major piece.
No,
of
that
the
we're going to
puzzle.
allow it to happen.
I'm sorry?
That we're going to allow it to happen for a period of time.
Councilman,
I'm not hearing that this is...
the other thing too is if we're talking about the ridership being 4 people and that we'd like more ridership, which to me isn't an issue either way because the service is there. It'll build on its own, like you're saying. Once people know it's there, it's going to build on its own, and it'll build, you know, with people coming from the airport to visit the city and people going there. So that's not a big issue. But even with the 2 parking spaces, all we're talking about is possibly every 48 hours is facilitating for 2 more people to go, which just doesn't seem to
It's a trial.
compensate for the loss of 2 valuable parking spaces near our business area.
It's a trial basis. If at the end of the day it's well received and people are using it, then we can maybe reroute it and use the parking lot in the country club. I just didn't think it was feasible or it was fair to me to reroute the whole thing just to try it out. Because if it didn't work and they're going to, you know, we put the staff working you know, we didn't need to. So I thought maybe we should try it out in small sample, and if it works, then reroute everything, and then because where it fits is at the country club. You're absolutely right. That's where all the parking spaces at. But that means rerouting everything, and I don't think if that's what you guys want, I'll pull my item because I don't want to make them work to reroute everything and for people not to take advantage of it.
If we were going to reroute everything, it would be nice to allow the community to make comments too on how they feel the shuttle might, you know, the rerouting might work too.
Well, as far as the fact that they took stats on from the 25th to the 21st, and 4 people took the shuttle all the way to the EV to the airport. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to give this 90 days to make an understanding of what we were going to do. That's the original situation that we did, right? Why don't we let it play out? Why don't we let it play out and see if there is a demand of people using the shuttle to go to the airport? Because I understand what your position is, but in today's world, as the gentleman came up here earlier today, today's world, the business traveler and everything, they're using the Ubers and the different things to go there. In my opinion, the situation for standalone parking for this situation, it's hard for me to go ahead and take spots from the where it is right now, what we're trying to do for the businesses and so on. I just you know, I just can't go with it. I got to go ahead and have. I would like to see it play out to find out in another month or two how many people are going to the airport using the shuttle, and then maybe make a proper decision. In the meantime, figure out maybe another place to put it.
I think this is a sensible approach as well. You know, and I've always said, Jamie, since you brought this initiative forward, and I know you've worked very hard on this. I'm well aware of that. I don't want to, you know, rock your parade or nothing, but I'll tell you this. I don't see people, as I've said, when this thing first came up, going anywhere at a Miami International Airport in Miami Springs, that lives in Miami Springs, and parking their car in a spot for like a week or 4 days and taking the EB shuttle to the airport. I don't see that.
Well,
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Okay, what we're trying to do here is reduce traffic.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
one
sure.
of the things that
And-
we're
and-
trying to do, reduce traffic for our residents. Now, next time I have to go to League of Cities and I have to take a plane, I will be using it.
Okay.
Because it just makes sense. Last time we were all went out, how much was your parking, how much did we pay for parking? When we all went for days?
We didn't pay, you and I, we didn't pay nothing.
No, he paid it.
Well, Willie did.
How much was it? Because we
didn't.
It was like $30, right?
$30.
$30 for what, 1 day and a half? I think we left.
We left one day, came back the next.
So that's $30.
Right, but if you had a car like Willie does, would you park it in some predisclosed location for 4 days and leave it there while you go to Tallahassee?
A day and a half. Well, you either park it there, or park it at the airport.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'd want my car there. But anyway.
I have no problem parking my car there when everybody knows that's what it's for. Now the other thing is, I guarantee you, Mayor, that you can give it 90 days, you can give it 180 days, you can give it 365 days, unless you have a place for people to come and park and get off and get into this metro, into this bus, the shuttle, and take you to the B Hotel. It's not happening. I'm not going to use it if I have to walk 4 blocks with my suitcase to get to where the route is.
But Councilman,
gonna happen,
Councilman, your heart's in the right place, but I don't see anybody calling me up and coming up to making an issue from the residency that we need something like that.
Well, it's
the shuttle runs. I mean, you got to at least take it into the fact that from the 25th to the 21st, a 1 month period, only 4 people went to the airport. You got to take that in consideration to make a change for the parking.
Well,
so I would ask you to allow it to keep going, and let's see if we can find another place and think about it more.
Let it go for the 90 days, Jamie.
I would ask you.
Well, I don't know. I don't think that if we leave it the way it is, you can give it a year, nobody's really going to use it. That
proves. Then you're
grow.
making your argument. Then that proves that it's not a necessary need.
No, that proves that people are not going to walk 4 or 5 blocks to get to the path of the shuttle.
Councilman, but you've made an amazing achievement with having the shuttle there. You've provided transportation for Miami Springs residents to get to the airport. We don't necessarily have to get into airport parking now. We've already got
this is not
a
airport
way
parking. This is for our residents.
No, but even so, we're talking about airport parking for our residents, and I think that's another whole game, and we don't need to necessarily go there yet.
All right, look, I want to. I'd entertain a motion.
I made the motion.
The motion. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'm going to second his motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Nay.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
No.
Councilman Petrolano?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
No. So I think we got to look at a better place and let this trial period about how many people ride to the airport and see if it's a feasible situation to do.
We're being short-sighted, sir.
Okay. Thank you. We go to 11A, resolution.
This is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, approving a theatrical services agreement with Pelican Playhouse, Inc., providing for authorization, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date. Let me read the memo from Omar. The recommendation, Pelican Playhouse, Inc. and their staff have done an amazing job of providing a first-class professional program productions to our patrons and community. They also have a great working relationship with the Recreation Department and the community. It is recommended that we approve the attached agreement. Pelican Playhouse is a very popular and educational theatrical program that provides a community with an opportunity for our children and adults to enjoy first-class productions in our very own Miami Springs Community Center Rebecca Sosa Theater. The proposed agreement is for 1 year, from October 1st, 2018 to September 30th, 2019. The city agrees to pay Pelican Playhouse $24,000 for its services being rendered to the city pursuant to this agreement. The aforesaid amount shall be payable as follows: October 1st, 2018, $8,000; February 1st, 2019, $8,000; June 1st, 2019, $8,000. The city further agrees to disperse to the Pelican Playhouse Inc. the balance of the $5,000 budgeted for fiscal year 2018-19 by the city for equipment repairs that remain unused as of September 30th, 2019. Again, the total amount is $29,000, and that was included in our budget during our last workshop.
Through the chair, these numbers, William, are the same as we discussed in our budget, correct?
Correct.
No change.
Correct.
Motion to move, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, discussion?
I have questions. So clarification on the $5,000 for repairs, they were not used and therefore...
They get $5,000 a year for equipment repairs. At the end of the year, whatever's not used is reimbursed to them. So it's giving them $5,000, but usually they spend
So
most
on top
of
of
that
the
money.
$24,000, they're getting $29,000.
Correct.
Okay, do we have any record of the expenditures that they've had?
Yes, we do.
Was that in our packet?
No, that was in your budget workshop when they were here.
Yeah, but what I looked at was the exact from the previous year. So I thought that was odd.
No.
It's in there.
Do we know, I'll raise the same question I raised last year. How many people are benefiting from our community or from anywhere? What's the number of people that are using the Pelican Playhouse?
Well, this
Well, I
is
was
something
there-
that should have been
I
brought
was
up at
there-
the last workshop when they were here.
I was there Sunday to watch the show. There was close to 100 people watching the show, and there were close to 35 individuals in the show. And,
Okay, so
and
I
I
just-
understand both shows
sold out.
that were shown, that's what kind of a turnout that they had.
And that's
Okay,
just
they
the summer
provide-
recital. The rest is the
yeah.
two major productions they do, which is a 3-day production twice a year.
Well, plus, it's not just the people watching the show,
the
it's
parents, the
the
kids.
people participating
I
in
just
the
said that.
show.
Yep.
There were at least 35 adults to children that were participating in the show. They are
That-
all lined up. Beautiful.
Okay,
But
but
also through the years, several of them participate. For instance, my daughter did it when she was in middle school, and they don't
Yes,
just
my
do it
nephew
once,
did
they do
also,
it
yeah.
for years and years, so it gives them a great opportunity. If they're not, particularly interested in sports or in other things, providing a theatrical experience is something
I'm just
great.
questioning the fact that we're taking money from our budget to provide, he's not a not-for-profit, correct? He's a for-profit?
No, they're a nonprofit.
They're a not-profit, they have a
Yeah.
contract from the city.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we're giving that amount of money, the actors are charged to participate, there's ticket sales, correct?
Mhm.
I would make the suggestion that they work for their money. I don't consider it just giving them money. I would suggest they work for it. They train
who?
and teach individuals actually to get up there and speak in front of people and act. And I think that's a nice service for young people and elderly people to understand how to communicate with other people. I think it's more than it's a real nice service for these young people that are 6, 7, 8, 9 years old to stand up there and do it. In fact, they even did the Who's on First situation with some young kids that were probably 11, 12 years old. And you know how difficult could that be, and they're doing it in front of 100 people. I think that's
I think it's extremely valuable to have young people have that experience. I'm an educator and I'm all for the arts as well. But the reality is that no one's speaking here except for Councilman Best, who has acted in these plays as well, right? Has firsthand knowledge of what actually happens in terms of that training or how the children are treated or anything. None
Well-
of us here really know that.
Councilwoman,
Well,
I
I can,
do
uh,
have personal knowledge too, for
I
years.
do also.
As a parent, and we had the cast parties at our house, so I was very actively involved while my daughter was there. But I wanted to clarify something. Did you say that they're paying to act? Because that is different.
Well, I
The
mean-
parents have
before.
to pay.
For the course, that's correct. She's right about that. Yeah, for the course.
Okay.
I mean, when they're first timers and stuff, and they come in, they pay, and they pay for probably a while after that. I don't know. I'll tell you this though,
Remember that.
I just wanna-
Vice
bef-
Mayor. I'll tell you this. You know how long it takes to put on a major production at the Pelican Playhouse? How many months? You have any idea?
Yes, I know it takes a long time, but no one
4.
else is
You don't
given
have
the
that idea.
opportunity.
4 months.
4 months.
Excuse me, I really would like some respect.
You have some.
I'm not talking to
Oh.
you. I really do think that other people should be given the opportunity to bid to be able to do this. That doesn't come up for bid. He gets a contract year after year, and I'm questioning that, that's all.
Okay.
I'm also surprised, and I may be wrong, but I don't think you used to have to pay. I was under the understanding that the children
It was-
participate free
It
of
was
charge.
no. It was. There's always there's always something involved. But
Has that always been the case
I
for
don't
you?
know. I
No.
don't know if you.
Your daughter is older. When my nephew participated, I know that
My
he had to
understanding
pay.
was that it was a free.
No.
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 No. There was a financial.
William, is it?
Mayor, if I might add just one thing, insofar as how they receive the contract, part of the credit that they receive as an organization is the fact that they assisted in the startup of the theater, incurring some costs with the equipment and other things when the theater was first put into service. That is, I mean, close.
And that was at the Cavalier Annex
Correct.
before the new
And then when
community
the new
center.
one was created,
Right.
they took on certain expenses, both operational as well as capital, and that is historically why the Pelican Playhouse has received the contract with a waiver of bid, so to speak.
So maybe I just need to understand better. Is that like for life?
I don't know, but perhaps a
No, I
discussion
think.
of
I'm
the-
just wondering. I just-
Vice Mayor, I think when it comes up for a renewal, I think anybody can vie for it. But
That
nobody
isn't
ever
op-
has.
That isn't open up for
Nobody ever
anyone.
has.
I don't think that that's been open up for anyone to do that. So I'm questioning that, that's all.
William, I would like to see what the charges are.
Well, if you look in your in recreation
people to
when we did your
participate.
budget workbook, there's an entire report from the Pelican Playhouse, which is about 10 or 15 pages, including the financials.
The revenues, okay.
And that's why I had them here at the last workshop, in case these questions came up, they could answer them.
Nobody asked him?
I have it right here if anyone wants to look at.
I already read it.
Okay, I have a first and a second.
Got it.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
No.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes. We go to 11B, a resolution.
This is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, approving an amendment to an agreement with Greater Miami Caterers, Inc. for senior nutrition programs, providing for authorization, providing for an effective date. This is the contract for the meals at the senior center.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to move.
Second.
Further discussion? Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes, we go to 11C.
This is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, selecting Aroma Catering, Inc. as the backup caterer for senior nutrition programs, providing for authorization, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date. This is required by the Alliance for Aging to have a backup caterer in case of a hurricane and something happens to Greater Miami. They have a backup catering service for the food for the seniors.
To the chair, is this Karen's doing?
Yeah.
Motion to move.
Second.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes. We go to D, a resolution.
This is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, ratifying a mediation settlement agreement and release among Amber 18 Holes Services LLC, Michael Kobiakov, Sigfrido Gubin, and the City of Miami Springs, pertaining to the following litigation matters: City of Miami Springs versus Amber 18 Hole Services LLC, Michael Kobiakoff and Sigfrido Gubin. Miami-Dade case number 2018-18796-CA-01, providing for authorization, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, if I
Dan?
might. Mayor and Council, as you know, after a year of being able to deliver on their food and beverage concession agreement and an inability to work with the city to reach that working relationship, the city manager, in an effort to protect the city's property and business reputation, terminated the contract with Amber 18 Holes. We had worked towards the end of the relationship to resolve things amicably. Unfortunately, Mr. Kobiakoff would not have it. Instead, he compelled us to have to file suit against both he personally as a guarantor, Sigfrido Gubin as a personal guarantor, and Amber 18 Holes. We filed for breach of contract and we filed for an eviction. During that time, property began to leave the country club, and we were forced to file an injunction, which we were able to get. We also were able to get a summary judgment on the eviction count. So essentially, leaving only for dispute damages and property. Our position all along had been: you made representations that you weren't able to follow through, fine, just walk away and everybody can keep their dignity. It was a business effort that failed. Unfortunately, that is something that Mr. Kobiakoff just was not willing to take. So we had to go through most of litigation to get ultimately exactly where we offered at the very, very beginning. So what you have before you, it wasn't any money going out, but we thought it in the best course of practice to bring it before you for ratification, is essentially a walk-away agreement where the city retains all of the property on the premise, as well as the liabilities associated with repairing damages for construction that was not completed. But it does afford us the opportunity that when this goes out for bid again, potentially include in that bid a package of property that we could then ask for a larger deposit or a larger payment from the next vendor that might go in as a way to recoup some of the funds associated with this. It's been signed by all the parties except for the city, pending your ratification. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Through the chair, if I might, to the city attorney.
Sure.
There was a provision in the initial contract going in with Amber 19, correct, that $500,000 was to be put into the infrastructure of that facility, correct? How much of that did he provide before the annulment of the deal?
Well, it's hard to say,
Okay.
because there are obvious improvements that have been made to the space,
Mhm.
and there were also attempted improvements that were made to the space. There were representations by him that there were contributions, investment over $400,000. The reality is that that's not the case. What he was most likely counting is operational expenses that he may have had to come out of pocket, just because he was essentially carrying the business without sufficient cash flow, without sufficient income. And so I don't know if I can give you a number, whether that number is between 150 and 200,000, but we certainly do not believe that that investment was actually done.
So to filter this thing out, we really don't know where we're at as far as that differentiation is concerned, right?
No, I mean, we can get an estimate from our building official insofar as the improvements. We can also
Should,
ballpark.
I mean, we're going into an RFP at the end of the month. Should we not know this going forward?
Well, we can estimate the value of any tangible property that's been left there, TVs, other equipment that was purchased. Then again, we're still ferreting through some of these issues because at the 11th hour, after claiming that some of these things were their property, well, actually it's not our property. It was leased. It belonged to a third party. We're financing it. And part of the settlement agreement before you is that they're required to come forward with all the contracts so that we're not left with any surprises. It has been, to be perfectly candid, a very, very difficult situation.
I'm sure it has.
With Mr. Kobiakoff acting as about as passively aggressively as I've ever seen anybody.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
I need a motion.
Motion to move.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Yes.
Mayor Bing?
Yes. We go to 12B.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, this is a request from Vice Mayor Zapata at the last meeting to discuss the memorandum of understanding with the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. I have provided you both MOUs, the one we received most recently on August 3rd and the one that was received by our police chief in early June.
Nori.
Vice Mayor, do you want to speak on this?
Oh, Nori's,
I signed up to
Mary.
speak, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In November, I will be here 60 years. In November, I've lived here for 60 years. During those 60 years, the city of Miami Springs has surrendered its library and its fire department to Miami-Dade County, but never surrendered its police department. I can tell you that the police department is the most important service the city provides to residents. It's the largest chunk of the city's budget, and residents do not mind paying taxes for it. It costs about $125,000 to train and gear up an officer. The average salary plus fringe benefits after the first year is about $85,000. The superintendent of Dade County Schools wants our city to provide 2 of these officers to our elementary schools for $35,088 each in a memorandum of understanding. This leaves a shortfall of about $50,000 each in salaries and fringes alone. Never mind the $125,000 investment, the initial investment to bring the officer up to being able to function. That means the city has to come up with at least $150,000 more taxes, which will increase my taxes and reduce the police department by 2 officers right now. The superintendent is advertising on his website for school resource officers starting salary of $40,400 plus laptop, cell phone, FRS retirement, and take-home patrol car. It looks like his costs are about $85,000 per officer after the first year. And you can find this on the Dade County Schools website. So why enter into an agreement to burden the taxpayers of Miami Springs for $100,000 a year? Senate Bill 7026, which became law in February, provided for funding for school resource officers. Miami-Dade County Public Schools got $10 million. After sharing $2 million with charter schools, they are left with $8 million for 392 schools. So they got funding. They want to enter into agreements with municipalities where they don't reimburse actual costs and pocket the rest of the money to pay for their existing police department. The law holds the school board responsible for providing resource officers, not counties, not municipalities. Once you help the school board out, the responsibility becomes yours and your police departments. This agreement is for 3 years. So clearly there is no intent to help the Dade County Schools while they hire resource officers, or this agreement would be a month-to-month agreement until next June. So now we're looking at $300,000 city expense for 3 years. Where in the budget can this council squeeze $300,000 without raising the millage rate? We have 14,000 homes for our tax base, not 2.5 million like the school board has. And by the way, last year I paid $1,761 in taxes to the school board without homestead exemption, and only $1,729 to the city with homestead exemption. I sure do not want to pay my share of $300,000 more when the state money has been allocated to provide for the resource officers. I have a comment about the agreement on page 2, notifications. Our officers at the school would have to report all incidents to school board police at 305-995-2677 because they, quote, and this is in the agreement on page 2, may garner significant media attention, and they have to wait for a school board police supervisor to advise them whether one of their units will respond or to handle the investigation and to advise the principal. Sounds like the superintendent wants a rent-a-cop, not a thinking, seasoned police officer that will handle it. I resent having 2 of our finest police officers assigned to 2 schools to be rent-a-cops not fully funded with their skills atrophying, while a school board police supervisor thinks for them. If they had a unit to send, why are they not assigning their own police unit to our 2 schools? Why hire ours at a deeply reduced rate so the city can pick up the tab for it? Police departments are based on chain of command, and I would expect our officer at the school to contact Miami Springs Police following our protocols. If a serious lockdown were needed, our police department would respond within 2 minutes and call for Metro-Dade SWAT team as backup. I'm confident even if we had no officer of our officers atrophying at the schools, our police department will respond to any incident as they always have. This includes donating a few hours a day to school speed zone enforcement at no cost to the Dade County schools. So my final comment is that Councilman Petrolanda and Vice Mayor Zapata work for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Dr. Zapata asked for this to be put on the agenda. Both need to recluse themselves as it is a conflict of interest. They cannot vote on an item that will financially benefit their employer. I'm sure the Ethics Commission would agree that it clearly is a conflict of interest. As a taxpayer and a resident, I do not think they will do what is in the best interest of my Miami Springs. Please do not enter into this agreement as it is bad for the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to speak first?
Vice Mayor, thanks.
That's fine.
I obviously need an opinion from the attorney on this.
While I can acknowledge the fact that as the school board being their employer, it gives the perception, and there is a prohibition against voting on things that benefit your employer. The state has recognized a public agency exemption, and while Miami-Dade County Code has not officially adopted that in the ethics code, in their policies they have applied that. The only prohibition would be a clear pecuniary gain to one of the members of the council that work for the school board, or if a quid pro quo came to light, which none of that is present before us. So it's not a conflict of interest. This has been addressed recently in Homestead. It's also been addressed numerous times with our own commissioner, Rebecca Sosa, who works for the school board. Again, it is not a conflict of interest.
So there is precedent then, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Thank you for the clarification.
Vice Mayor, if I might say something. I know this is your item. I just wanted 2 quick statements. Ms. Owens, you will be paying higher taxes come November than the ones you're paying now if this referendum goes through, and it looks like it's going to do, that 75 cents per every $1,000. So we're going to be paying more, so that's not accurate. The second point that I want to make to you is my loyalties is to the residents of this city, not to the school board. I'm just a school teacher there, and I have to tell you, I agree with you 100% of everything you said, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. The way things stand right now, I don't think that would be an issue. That's not something I would vote for, a $300,000 tax hike to our residents for something that they're going to get more money for, and something they're liable for. Things that those are their mandates, those are their responsibilities, not ours. That's all I have, man.
Okay, so I'd like to speak on the item. I asked for it to be placed on the agenda today, driven by the fact that we have an obligation to the children in our schools and their safety. And I have been concerned about the fact that this was not really discussed in any of our meetings. It was discussed by the city manager with each of us privately, individually, and then it was not brought up at the meeting. And I really feel that something of this nature is something that needs to be brought up in the agenda so that all of the residents have an opportunity to hear about it. I taught at Springview Elementary for 10 years at the beginning of my career. You heard firsthand at the beginning of this meeting that even though this is a community that has low crime rate, there are things happening in our community that are of concern. And our children at Springview, for example, it's pretty open, that campus, and I do not want to be the person that wakes up one day when something happened to one of those children and say, I didn't speak up and I didn't ask to really, you know, think about possibilities of ways that we could either work to do this or partner. We have Medley and we have Virginia Gardens who have children that go to our schools. There hasn't been a conversation with them, but they're willing to come to the table and have a conversation, as it has been expressed to me, about possibly supporting some of that funding.
Can I stop you there?
No, because I have a little bit more to say. Thank you. I don't think that we've given the time that this needed to be given or that our children deserve it be given. We have police officers right now in the morning going out to AIE to work on the traffic. I don't know if the school, they're going 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon. That was told to me by police officers here. Okay, so I don't know if the charter school hired them to do that or what is happening. As far as the taking a police, we're already short, off the force to do this, I am in no way asking for that. My suggestion was that we have off-duty opportunities for our police to be able to do this. They would be trained. The training is 1 day, not a week. And I'm just exploring possibilities because I really care about the schools being protected. That's the place that I am coming from. And the commitment would be for 1 year is what they're asking. And I think there's somebody from the school system here.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Well, we're going to have a discussion up here.
Okay.
Are you finished?
I am now done.
First of all, I talked to both mayors of Virginia Gardens and Medley. They feel the same situation as what I expressed, that it's the school board's responsibility. When the situation, what you're saying here is about the children, and I believe that everybody here loves the children, but the situation is there's two government entities. One government entity is supposed to take care of the school. The other government entity is supposed to take care of the residency that they abide over. When do you stop the crossover and put the expense? When is it going to be the time to stop the crossover and basically put the burden on us when they're educated people, smart people? When are they going to be able to go ahead and make their own decisions on take care of the school? Number two, as far as the off-duty, the lady here that's here tonight, we talked, their chief offered possibility of changing the contract a little bit for off-duty officers to go to our school, whether it's Miami Springs or somebody else, but Miami Springs would have an opportunity. And that would, our police officers get paid $50 an hour for off-duty. According to the figures by the city manager, that would take us at least half the school year. But we haven't heard back from the school board or school, whatever, the school board, I guess they're called. We haven't heard from them on whether they're going to make a difference in the contract to go ahead and have us be able to participate in off-duty. And this is the lady that we talked to here, and she verified that I never talked to her before the meeting we had on, what was it, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. So where you got your information that I had talked to her, the the school.
The information was that you have been contacted and were not aware.
No, I never. And then,
That's all. I'm not saying that she specifically.
Again, you're saying something. Your question should have been to me: have you been contacted? Not you've been contacted. You should have gave me.
I said I've been told you were contacted.
Yes, but the
That's
thing,
what I said.
no,
I
the
didn't
question,
say you've been.
you know, to give respect to me as you want respect, the way you should ask the question was, have you been contacted by the school board? That's the question you should have asked me. You
Well-
implied that I talked to him, and the worst part about it is you implied that I didn't know anything about the situation. And that's what you said.
I did not imply that.
Yes, you
I
did.
said that I was told
Yes,
that
you
your
did.
response
May I
was
ask
Yes,
that you
you
did not.
did.
I don't know why we're discussing
May I
this
ask a
right now.
question, Mayor?
Because you
Because it got to you
because-
last time. I get it.
No, because you're wrong. That's why. Because you can't go ahead and do that.
If you want
you
forward-
cannot continually make assumptions that aren't true.
I was
How can
repeating
anybody
what I
believe
was
you?
told, and I
How
shared
can
the phone
anybody
with you
believe
this-
you if you make assumptions that aren't true?
Mayor, moving
this is
forward,
an
could I
attack
ask a
right now,
question regarding
honestly.
this? Let's get back to this because I have a few
Yeah,
questions
please.
regarding this, please. Okay.
No, I'm not finished.
Okay.
No, I'm not finished. But my reiteration is this. The fact remains is that there's two entities that are responsible for two different parts of the community. One is the education community, that's their responsibility, and ours is to the city of Miami Springs. I want that clear, because you cannot go ahead and do crossovers and throw out the suggestion that Miami Springs, because they're not participating in this, don't care for their children. And that's not true.
That's a false assessment.
It's a false assessment. And it's the
absolutely.
way to get to your your heart, or whatever you want to call it, to make you make a bad decision. So that I'm finished now.
Thank you, Mayor. And I agree with you totally. And I know everyone sitting up here on this dais is totally committed to the safety of our children in the school, in our community, and we are, bent on doing what's best. However, we have to figure out the best way to do this, to accomplish this goal. And we also have a commitment, everyone up here has a commitment to have police officers on our streets doing what they were hired to do, which is to protect our community. And that is our city, and does not involve, having a police officer at a school, paying for one of our police officers to be at a school sitting there, doing something that from the state of Florida it's mandated on the school systems to do. However, this memo that you had sent out, or this proposal that you had sent out, I think is very reasonable. It allows us to offer our off-duty police officers to be available to be hired by the school system at a reasonable rate, at off-duty rate, and to
Well, this is what
be
happens.
there.
This is what happens when you have communication. She came and spoke and sat down and talked. This is what happens when you have communication that goes on, that maybe you can negotiate something that could come to
Exactly.
fruition. But before that, we had no contact with, besides the manager.
think it was-
Nobody up here had the levels to go to contact.
But the other thing I'd like to suggest is that our police officers get first dibs. I know that this week when I was at Springview, we had a police officer from another municipality stationed there off duty. It's really important to me to have our police officers have the opportunity to be there, because they're the ones that know our community. They're the ones that know our residents. They know how our community works. They're much more likely to be much more effective, so should something go wrong because of their connection to our community, than someone else. The other issue I wanted to bring up is that it's my understanding, and this is from talking with when Chief met with us individually, and from other situations, that when our officers are at the schools, they're kind of left on the what would I say, outskirts or something,
Outskirts.
and they're not
Periphery.
intimately. There's not a whole lot of communication between the police school system and our officers. It's kind of like an internal thing with the police, which I understand that's how things work. So it's much more effective if the schools are handling the security, are in charge of hiring the officers and doing everything, than us having our police officers stationed at the schools and taking away from our community.
You want to come up?
Yes,
Wait, Mayor, I want to say something real quick
Go
before.
ahead, she can stand there.
Yeah.
Right, no, she can stand, that's fine. Hi. I don't know, you're the one who pushed her back. But I spoke to the chief, and I spoke to the city manager regarding using off-duty police officers.
So did I.
We're trying to find a solution. We all take care of we all want to take care of our kids. It's a good thing. But we got to also think about the situation where we do that. Now it's our liability because we're taking it on. What happens if one day we can't find an officer to cover a shift? Or we do, and then he or she shows off, and they have to leave in an emergency, and we have no one to replace that officer. Okay, is that become our issue now? Is that our liability for our city if something happens there? That we have no officer to show, because I was told there's 3 different municipalities, but that doesn't mean that we're always going to have an officer, or that an officer shows up and they have to leave, and then can we just scramble and get one to replace that officer? So these are the things we have to look at before we rush into using off-duty police, because this is a liability for us. And my first goal, my loyalty, is to the residents of Miami Springs. Okay? That's all I have, Mayor.
I just want to say one more
sorry.
thing, Maria. The day after the presentation was made at the County League of Cities, which I represent Miami Springs on, I spoke to the mayor and the manager and the assistant manager, and mentioned the idea of off-duty and all this, and the chief was there. And so it isn't something that was negotiated after that. It was something that was brought up from the beginning, that was a possibility. But here we are now. That's all.
And Councilman, I just wanted to mention that my understanding of off-duty police officers would be the Miami Springs officers would get first chance if they're available, and then there's a pool of off-duty police officers from other municipalities, like anywhere else, that fill in. So it would never be like it's just, depending if we don't have any police officers to spare.
The discussion that we had last week involved Miami Springs officers doing all of the off-duty for the 2 schools. Now, to address Councilman Petrolanda's concern, the chief and I had reached out to VG and Medley, and they would be willing to provide officers on an off-duty basis, getting paid, of course, but they would be willing to provide whenever we have a situation where he can't get any officers to work off-duty, we could draw from either VG or Medley.
But this is all under the fact of the what is it called? MOU. The MOU has to be renegotiated with you people.
And now, just to recap, I understand what you're all saying. My concern is what happens if we cannot
The
find
off-duty
one?
officer would not be in the off-duty officer, wherever it comes from, that particular day, his responsibility is to the school. The fact is that if our police officers have an opportunity for off-duty, that's not part of their shift. They're off-duty for that particular day for the school. It's not, that's the problem. The way it's structured now, they want to take an officer off the street.
I hear you.
Okay, now if they go ahead and offer us the off-duty for our schools, then we can structure it where our police officers would be allowed to work at the school.
That's fine, but how about if we can't man that
Then
station?
the whole thing with the chief and the chief of the police department of the school, we're going to go ahead, and your guys are jumping the gun. We're going to go ahead and talk on how the logistics of that would be.
Well, that's my concern. That's why I'm voicing it.
But it's not there yet.
Well, that's what.
Let's let
right, but wait. I'm voicing my concern. So when they do sit to negotiate, they keep this in mind.
Right.
This was
That's all I'm saying.
This was all talked about already. And didn't you get the memo? Did you send them all the memo from
About
our
the
meeting?
off-duty?
Yeah, in the meeting.
Absolutely. With the difference in cost and stuff? Yeah, we all saw that.
What Councilman Petrolanda, in the unlikely event where the chief can't get an officer from Miami Springs, VG and Medley don't have an officer.
And something
who will
happens that
cover
day.
school?
They said that they would.
If I may add, we've run into this situation and
give your name so
concerns-
everyone knows
I'm
who you are.
sorry, through the chair.
You don't have to give your address.
I don't.
No.
Good.
Uh-huh.
I
Go ahead,
live
go
in Miami Springs. Good evening. Iraida Mendez Cartaya, Associate Superintendent for the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, Grants Administration, and Community Engagement, Miami-Dade County Public Schools. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight on this very important issue, and hopefully I'll be able to provide
some clarity to the council on some of the issues and statements that have been made. So why are we here, right? Let's start with that. Senate Bill 7026 was passed by the Florida legislature in response to a terrific, a tragic that took place last February 14th. Unfortunate situation, and apparently is something that apparently is taking place in our communities across the nation, you know, almost, it seems, nearly monthly. Just yesterday there was a shooting in Jacksonville.
All due respect, can you just get to
Okay,
to what
so Senate Bill 26 requires police officer at each public school, and in lines 2044, 2045, it states that school districts in partnerships with municipalities will provide this service.
Now,
so
of
that's
that
what
of
the
that
bill says.
of that line that line, is that possible to be interpreted that it's school systems that don't have their own police force?
Well, yes, but even our police force, we are one of maybe 4 or 5 districts that does have a police force.
Right.
But we have almost 400 schools. We do not have 400.
Is it possible
police
that the way the lawyers write things, that is a situation where it really the whole intent of that was for counties or municipalities that school districts that don't have their own police force, was that maybe the little amendment so that police forces would have to cooperate with their you know, in other words, you know, we can interpret things, you know. Does it really apply to Miami-Dade County, who has their own police force?
I personally, I believe it applies to all 67 school districts. That legislation was written for all 67 school districts, and the legislators that wrote this piece of legislation were aware that there are a handful of school districts that do have police forces. Recognizing that the police forces that those school districts have are not sufficient to cover every school as described in the state statutes. And believe it or not, this piece of legislation is better than what we could have had. As a matter of fact, Governor Scott had proposed 1 police officer per 1,000 students. So right now we are sitting with a piece of legislation that is difficult to implement, very difficult to implement, recognizing they did not give us the funding to implement this piece of legislation. Okay, so that leads me to the appropriations. So the appropriations bills provides for $10 million for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. $2 million of that goes out to charter schools. The remaining $8 million, $6 million was approved by the School Board of Miami-Dade County to be shared with municipalities. The remaining $2 million would reside with the school system in order for us to continue to hire police officers. Thus far, we have hired approximately 30 police officers, and we are basically continuing to hire police officers. The money is not there. There's not enough people in the academies to fully, not only to fully implement this piece of legislation. You have a question?
I do, ma'am. You mean to tell me in 3 weeks, the school police hired 30 guys?
Through the chair, this piece of legislation was passed.
No, I'm aware when
March.
it was passed.
Yeah.
And I guess as a follow-up to that, I would ask you, did the county commission or the school board vote on this as a resolution even going forward, or was it just football to us?
No, there was a board item on July 25th authorizing our ability to share the funding with municipalities.
But not mandating it.
To share we cannot make partners come to the table and enter into the MOU. However, the board item that is authorized by the board is if the municipality does not provide a full-time police officer at the school, because it's really for the school, okay, per school, there's an allocation of $35,088 for 180 days, which is basically the school year, bell to bell. And so that would be the allocation per school on an annual basis.
But in the end, you're obligated, whether we participate or not, to have an officer at any school in Dade County.
Through the chair, we will have a police officer, and as a matter of fact, we have had a police officer
No, I'm saying
at all of our
by
schools.
the bill, you're obligated to do that.
Through the chair, we have had a police officer at every single site, and that is a combination of
of our own police force as well
I guess
as
the
partnerships.
question is, what I want a yes or no, the school board is obligated to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a legislation that requires a police officer at each of our schools, and that is taking place and will take place. The
Next
draft
question I
MOU
have, next question. Are you given any other police force, the off-duty, have you struck any contracts or negotiations with other municipalities for off-duty opportunities for their force?
We currently do not have any contract with any municipality for extra duty. We've had a partnership with Sweetwater that they have come to the table with their officers, but we currently do not have an executed contract.
When we talked in the office there, your police chief was going to go ahead, you also, about going to your powers to be to see if it was feasible or legal to offer off-duty to the police departments. Have you come up with anything
We
from
have a
them?
meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Okay.
So tomorrow morning, you have a meeting scheduled?
With our legal department, our CFO, and the police chief on to discuss this matter.
And
Yes,
so that might be able to take care of the whole problem?
it may.
Yeah.
It may.
Okay.
But I cannot attest to that right now.
Right.
So the draft MOU is not for 3 years. The initial MOU that was drafted and shared back in May, and just a time frame of how we got here. After session, at the end of March 23rd, the superintendent of schools invited all the mayors and the police chief to a meeting. That meeting took place on April 6th. A draft MOU was shared with all the police chiefs back in May. In June, we had the Miami-Dade League of Cities
So we make sure, excuse me, you want to educate the people, right? So let's make sure that when that MOU was first drafted, there was never any obligation as far as monies to be correct.
Through the chair, I'm getting to that point.
Okay.
I was just trying to lay out the time frame
Well, that
of how
should
things
be,
have changed.
I believe that's when it should, so that the time frame states that at that particular time when the chief had went there was no situation of any funding.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Then
And I think I
should go.
believe I mentioned earlier that in July, the board authorized the allocation to the municipalities on a per-student basis. So in June, there was the meeting with Miami-Dade County League of Cities. In July 25th, the board authorized the allocation on a per-school basis. And in August 3rd, I sent over the revised MOU. So what are the differences between the initial MOU and the current MOU that has been shared with municipalities? One, it was a 3-year contract or MOU. This version is a 1-year version. The other difference is there's the allocation of $35,000 that was not in the original draft that was shared with the municipalities.
And through the chair, if I might add, as you continue, the fact that we put the lid on the millage rate right in the middle of all this, so we had no ability to adjust that to accommodate this. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Through the chair, I'm not familiar with your schedule. However, the discussion started back in basically April. April 6th was the original meeting with the superintendent that spoke about entering into these vitally needed partnerships in order to implement Senate Bill 7.
Through the chair, our schedule is no different than any other of the 34 municipalities in Miami-Dade County. We get a budget due 1 October on somebody's desk in Tallahassee.
I think
no different.
The point I was going to make the same point. If the education board should understand, maybe they can do this from here to learn something here. The education board should know that the cities have to set a millage rate.
Right.
July 20. What did we do? July 26th.
We did it July 26th.
Now, at that time, July 26th, when we set a millage cap, we cannot go above that cap. Maybe if the school board would have been more educated on what municipalities have to do, they could have brought this up earlier, whereas we could have set the millage a little bit different, maybe to help the situation, and as long as we knew that because you gave us the MOU on the 3rd of August.
Through the chair, I believe that the time schedule
The invitation went out to all the mayors and the police chiefs back on March 23rd. Session ended the first week of March. So there was a need to obviously compel.
Through the
and
chair, there was no
understandably-
cash attached to that.
That is correct. That is correct. That's a true statement. And the conversation took place with the superintendent on April 6th, certainly way before the setting of the tentative millage rate of any municipality. So if I may continue.
Hold on. Can you clarify something? When you talk about a year, you're talking about a school year, correct?
Yes,
well,
it would be a
you gotta
fiscal
let them
year
know.
for the school district.
Right.
And unlike municipalities, our fiscal year runs from July 1st through June 30th. I believe the municipalities' fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th, if I'm not mistaken. So Miami-Dade County Public Schools has historically spent in excess of $60 million to keeping our schools safe, okay? Up to this fiscal year, we were receiving $10 million from the state, and only after the tragic situation that took place just north of us did the Florida legislature come and provide additional funding. So it's not a function of our board not prioritizing providing for safety and security for our schools, recognizing the budgetary situations not only for the school system but municipalities and the county. The board has taken steps as part of our legislative platform, our advocacy plan in Tallahassee for next year. One of our top priorities will be to fully fund this Senate Bill 7026 to ensure that we have the funding to put a police officer at every school. We would ask this town, this village, as well as all the municipalities to join us in that. Furthermore, the board has taken a huge fate of courage and asking and passing a resolution, believe in July as well, asking for an additional millage rate of 0.75 mils to be increased in part for this purpose of school security safety. This will not impact our ability to effectuate this fiscal year. That millage rate will be on the ballot on November 6th, and if it passes, it would be for the 1920 fiscal year. So the ask is of our partners, our municipal partners, to assist in this 1 year to get us through the 180 days, well actually 174 days right now, that remain in our school year. But to your question, there will be an officer at every one of our schools. And our board prioritizes the safety of our kids.
The MOU, is the MOU for every city the same?
Yes, sir. There has been modifications, not on the allocation, but there have been modifications. I believe there was some discussion earlier by one of the council members about notification. Some municipalities have requested modification on that matter. We recognize that there may be an emergency and there may not be any time to really stop, pick up the phone, and it would require just action by the law enforcement agency. We intend that the law enforcement agency do what they need to do as the professional in that area.
Is there additional money coming from the state?
Through the chair, that last week the governor has the funding for policing of the schools came in two pots. A pot came to school districts, and then there was a pot of $67 million for a guardian program, so that you would have a civilian that would be armed, that would be able to be the acting person with a gun at the school site. Most of that money has gone unspent. Of the $67 million, $58 million remains in that pot of funding. The governor has requested that the Joint Legislative Budget Committee do a transfer of those funds over to the school districts. There has been no action other than that request by the governor to do so. So the next meeting of the Joint Legislative Budget Commission is not to September 15th. We have already reached out to the Commissioner of Education, to all the members of that committee in order to advocate for those dollars to be distributed to school districts to help us with funding this.
Through the chair, how did that happen? $67 million?
$67 million.
If we didn't know what we were doing with $67, we'd be crucified by the community. You're talking $67 million.
Yeah, $67 million.
And nobody knows where the money is or where it's going.
Well, it's been unappropriated because you have the school districts.
What does that mean?
Well, it has not gone out to any of the sheriffs because the program, that Guardian program, is run by the local sheriffs in each of the respective counties. And $58 million of those dollars have been unspent as of last week. So we have advocated for those dollars to be reappropriated or redistributed to school district, to local school districts to help us, and we will continue to do so. But do I know that whether that's going to happen or not? I can't tell you.
Let me ask you a question. Does the whole, the Senate and the representatives, do all have to vote on that, or can that entity do the whole thing?
Through the chair, is my understanding that they can do it so long as it's for the same purpose.
Why don't you put a list of names, give them to us and their phone numbers, and the communities can call them.
Certainly, I would. I will share it with your.
We'll
your
put it on our. We'll put it on our website, and we'll call these people up and tell them you're putting a very bad pinch on a lot of cities, and you have them funds to help out what you consider, as they put it on us, protecting the children. They have the opportunity to protect all the children, so maybe we should leverage them with the truth.
I will share that with Mr. Alfonso.
Who's going to be making that decision? The current legislators or the?
There are. It's a joint Senate and House Legislative Budget Committee, and we are actually fortunate to have 4 members of the Miami-Dade delegation that sit on that committee. I personally text them the morning that press release came out, and we have formally written a letter to all the members of the committee to reappropriate those dollars. So from the board's perspective, we are doing everything in our power to basically do and implement what the law was passed and requires us to do. And just a point of clarification, I know that this issue is in many respects difficult for municipalities and even the county to grasp. Unlike the municipalities that can set their own millage rate, school boards cannot. Our millage rate is set by the Florida legislature. There's a funding mechanism called the Florida Education Finance Program. There's a required local effort, which is basically the main bread and butter of the funding formula, and that is set by the Florida legislature on an annual basis as part of their appropriations. For the last 3 years, the Florida legislature has rolled back that millage rate. So unlike municipalities that have benefited from the higher property tax rolls, Miami-Dade County Public Schools and our 66 other sister school districts have not been able to benefit from that increased tax roll in our counties.
I want to tell the people in the audience that that's exactly what she told me in the meeting. She hasn't deviated at all. So she said it privately and publicly. That's something I learned at that meeting.
I have been doing this for 25 years and
You ought to retire, maybe.
Huh?
25 years is long enough. Maybe
oh, no,
you ought to go.
I started when I was a mere baby.
Well, we appreciate you coming and taking the heat from us. I know it's not.
Hopefully it wasn't a heat like he says.
A
good exchange, right?
It was, but this is, I'll just reiterate one point. As we talked in the office, communication's everything, and talking to people is everything. And to go ahead and the MRO, the MOU. As you see, I'm dyslexic from the thing. The MOU comes in a paper. Sure. It's good to put a personality and talk it out. And maybe the idea of the police officers having some time for themselves to go without having to take it off of the department might work. Hopefully tomorrow morning when you have the meeting, it'll come to fruition and we can go, and hopefully all the residents can call up these people that are responsible for that $67 million, and maybe we can do it, okay?
Sure.
Thanks
Have
for
a good
coming.
evening, and thank you for
Okay,
your
thank
time.
you.
Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Edida, be careful driving here. Miami Springs officers, they might, I don't want you to get. Don't be driving fast. Don't be driving fast too. All right.
That's it.
Any more discussion on the item? Okay, we go to 12C.
Yes, Mayor. Attached is a flyer that we've developed in-house in order to send it to various companies that may be interested in donating funds towards our new senior center building. We have come up with 3 levels of sponsorship, $500,000 being the platinum level that will provide the naming rights to the center. We arrived at the $500,000 number based on a number of factors. We did not think that making it $1 million level would get any response based on the location of the center and the number of people that attend the center. We would ask council for council discussion, proposed changes, additions, and approval of the program so that we can begin distribution. Like I said, we have 3 levels. The platinum level is $500,000. And that gives you the right to name the building. We have the gold level for $250,000 and the silver level for $25,000. And we have added different things. For $250,000, you can name one of the big rooms in the interior, free access to rooms for meetings, trainings, and presentations, and things of that nature. Just as a point of reference, we've met with Councilwoman Mitchell and Dan and Tammy with the people from Leon Medical Center not too long ago, and they're waiting for this. We've also reached out, Dan has reached out to Belen Medical Center, and we're reaching out to these different organizations, and that's why we've established this, to be able to get it out and see if we can get some donations for the new center.
Any discussion on this? I think.
You could add a $1,000 donation too. So you can address a small business.
That could make sense.
Yeah.
That could make sense.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. For a little guy. Yeah.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
You sure?
I like
You
your
sure?
face when you do that. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I think Councilman Petrolanda's idea of $1,000 is great, because that might also, not even a
Or
business, but a smaller, even an individual, or
Exactly.
someone who's benefited from the center and stuff, so perhaps something of like that, individual sponsorship, or I don't know what we could call it. The naming of the center, why do you think the million, I mean, 500,000 is a lot of money, but I still think to name the center after, say, an organization,
No, I don't think
that
it's
we
the-
should ask for more?
No, I don't think it's the naming of the center.
The 500,000 is.
Yeah, 500,000
would
is for
be- it would
naming
be
the
named
actual
center,
building.
which I think that's,
Building named.
For naming rights for the building.
Free access to
250 is
building
naming a
meter.
room, and 500,000 would be naming the whole center after the person. How did, I mean, to me, it seems like we should ask for more to name the whole center after him. Should be the $1 million. But why do you think the 500,000 would encourage someone to have
I
a
was
center?
discussing that with Dan because he's got some background on this, and it's just that to spend $1 million to name a building, you'd want to make sure it's in a high traffic area. You get thousands of people going through the center on a daily basis, and I think if we put it too high, I don't think we're going to get any. I don't know. What do you think?
Essentially, when you compare it to some of the other senior centers, both in terms of vehicular traffic and pedestrian involvement, our community is small. Even with the Tri-City involvement of Medley, Virginia Gardens, we have a small population that goes through there, and it's in a residential neighborhood. And so it's not somewhere you can slap a name on it. It's going to get a lot of vehicular exposure, and we can't guarantee that. Even, I mean, for a Leon Medical Center, it was a significant contribution, and after Leon and some of the other ones, you start reducing in size. I started calling healthcare lawyers that I know. That's how we got connected with Belen, and certainly as you get smaller in terms of whether they're a medical service organization or an HMO itself, they just, the funds are not there. So it became a factor of likelihood of success versus what we actually would like to get and not succeed.
I have another question regarding the naming of the center. Should someone pay whatever the platinum level is to have the center named, how does that work? Like down the road, is that permanent? I've noticed like something like, it seemed like the Arts Center used to be the Carnival Center, and then it was the Arts Center, and how does that work
It's a
with the
naming, I mean, it's typically a naming for a duration, and that's part of
A
the
certain number of
negotiation.
years, right?
Right, a certain number of years, and thereafter, most places almost have a right of first refusal or an option to renew, and if that's not there, then it essentially goes out again. Sometimes some organizations will leave the name on there until they get a replacement. Others, it'll default back to a standard name until it's renamed.
We're going to, if somebody gives us $500,000, we'll name the community center after them. And in 6 weeks, if we get another $500,000, we'll name that something else.
I didn't hear that. No. Okay, so is that something?
I will accept your I think that, I don't know if 500,000 is enough to name the building after somebody.
No, I don't think so either.
I gotta think about it. I think that, I don't know, I think,
Could we name something like, use the word pavilion and name that will designate not just a room, but say a section of it or something, a pavilion, it's just the whole center after someone for 500,000? I'm not sure. I mean, obviously we could use the money, so the donation would be wonderful.
Well,
Sponsorship.
it strikes me for 500,000, you get a nice plaque in the lobby or something. You know, you don't name the whole building.
Can we put something, Dan?
I think we need to.
Can we put something about,
all right, bigger plaque.
Dan, can we put something to qualify the levels instead of promising something? The opportunity to have it named after you, or I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or
Essentially, these are all starting points.
Right.
So, I mean, if you would like to see that the starting points are higher, just bear in mind that you ask for $1 million, you might end up at 500,000 or 750.
Yeah.
But then to William's point, even when we spoke to the folks at Leon,
All right.
they expressed a situation they were going through and said, you know, with certain changes in healthcare law, the era of big donations like that, unless they come from a private benefactor, are just not there for a medical organization.
Pretty well dried up.
I'm gonna guess
I
I'll go
think
with
what
the
we-
professionals, see what happens.
Yeah.
What we could do is maybe for $500,000, you said let's say a 10-year mark, and if you want to give $1 million, 20 years or
Yeah,
15 years.
Something like that. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, let's see what happens before we.
All right, we need a vote on this to put it forward.
Just consensus. I think.
Consensus?
Yeah.
Yes.
We want to go forward with it.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe think about a couple tweaks maybe for the
Exact-
next meeting or
exactly.
something.
Add the $1,000.
add
The Councilman Petrolando's $1,000 deal, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay, we have next update on the 2018-19 budget.
Okay, man. After completing our second budget workshop, the updated budget shows a surplus of $121,276 at the current millage rate of 7.3575. During the two workshops, Council added the following to the budget: $4,500 for the new sound system in council chambers, $6,000 for an electric car charging station, and $10,600 for an online benefits administration system for human resources for first-year implementation, and $8,300 ongoing annual charge based on number of employees. I believe originally it was $12,500 and $10,000. We were able to negotiate it down because it's based on the number of employees, and they were using all of our seasonal employees from the summertime in their total, so they had to back those out. I am also attaching a quote for a replacement community bulletin board to be placed by the entrance to the multipurpose room in the Aquatic Center. The cost is approximately $1,200. If council approves, this would decrease the surplus to $120,076. We're also looking at installing 10 bike racks throughout the city at a cost of about $2,100. This would be paid from CITT funds and would not affect the surplus. I have also attached a listing of the proposed locations for the 10 racks. Below, I also provided a table.
Before we start that,
Mhm.
I mean, as far as them racks go,
Right.
I don't believe in paying for the company that works here. But you know, I'm one individual. I want to vote on that.
Are they willing to discuss
I wanna
that
vote on
with
that
us?
for the record.
I
I'm
guess-
not. I don't understand giving the money to an
Well,
organization.
I think these bike racks are for anyone to use, not just for the line bikes that are out there. It's just bike racks to have for anyone.
Yeah,
to
but it's
use.
stated.
There's a cost though, right?
But it's stated, basically brought up for them bikes.
Well, it was brought up, I suggested it because a lot of our residents have expressed that they don't like the way things look when the bikes are just left and then the wind blows them down and knocks them down, and when we have them in an orderly fashion in high-use
I agree.
areas, they look nice to have a bike, and it'll kind of, if you want to leave your bike at a bike rack, it's there, so we have them at high-use areas, the ends of the bike paths and stuff, some bike racks so that you can,
And I believe that should be the cost of the organization that's in this city making money for them bikes, with them bikes. It should be their obligation to help pay for it, whether it's half of it or whatever. I don't know if you approached them.
Let me reach out to them because we haven't.
You were supposed to reach out to them for
Not for this one, not for the bike rack.
I don't think we
the
asked.
bike
them to-
racks we talked about. You were gonna.
might
I
have
made the
Well,
statement
I was
last
going to
time.
get you a cost, and we discussed that it could come from CITT funds. but-
Okay. Well, I'd like to see if they would help participate
Sure.
with it. Okay, keep going.
Okay, below is a table showing the surplus of various millage rates based on the average taxable value of $168,081 for a homesteaded property, and I just gave you some different millages and what the effect on the surplus would be, and so that we can narrow down a millage rate for the first public hearing in September.
Well, you want to set that tonight for the September meeting?
I think he'd like to, yeah.
You
Or I
want-
could leave it at 7.3575 for the first meeting in September.
I think you should. I mean, I think you should.
I think you should too.
Well, ultimately, through the chair, ultimately, I would like to see us drop it just a little. I think that'd be a good sign to the residents that we're keeping them in mind on this.
I got you. But I think right now we're going to leave it like that.
That's
We'll
fine with me,
further
sir.
discussion-
So,
Further
Fine with
discussion
me.
on the first reading.
Fine with me, Mayor.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, we go to the city attorney.
Mayor and Council, just to confirm, we have now at this point received or obtained a stay in both of the annexation lawsuits pending the results of the November election. Now we have two different parties, both represented by council, neither of which were willing to acquiesce to our request for a stay. And there are some pending issues that they're going to try and litigate, even if the election, hopefully when the election is favorable for us. So we're on ice on that till November, and then we'll see what happens at the election. That's all I got.
Thank you. City manager?
Just one item I wanted to bring up. The council, the code review board is scheduled to meet this Wednesday. It's the first time they've met since 2010. So if you have any particular items of the code that you want them to consider, you should reach out to your appointee and let them know, because they're looking for agenda items for Wednesday's meeting.
Okay, anything else from the city manager?
No.
Assistant city manager? Nothing else?
Nothing.
Wow. We're not doing anything around here, huh?
Events?
We don't have anything going on this time around. Okay, I think I'm going to go with Councilman Petrolonga first.
I have a lot to say, but I'm not going to say it, so I don't have anything.
Council Vice Mayor, anything from you?
I just wanted to share this Saturday I was at the Women's Equality event at Women's Park, and Commissioner Rebecca Sosa was there and gave a key to the heart of the commission to Ileana Ross-Lettinen, who is stepping down as Congresswoman, and it was just a very nice gesture and very nice to see her there.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Just want to remind everyone tomorrow's election day, and there's the 4 precincts in Miami Springs, so be sure if you haven't already voted to get out there and vote. The other thing is just to welcome everyone back to school, and to say that I think you know, we all agree that, you know, the safety of our children and our community and our residents, it's all you know, it's all the top priority for all of us, not just everyone up here, but everyone in our community. So I'm glad to see that we're working to make sure that we address all these issues and find a solution that is reasonable for all sides. The other thing I wanted to mention was just with the Code Review Board, like William said, it's going to be meeting for the first time. I think one of the issues that should be on it is something we've talked about. I mean, all these advisory boards, it's a great opportunity for us to tap into the professionals that we have living in our community that are willing to serve. And perhaps one of the things on the agenda should be to help us with the review of the codes for the downtown area that we said we were going to do. I think that would be a great item to be on their agenda.
But that's being done in-house, like with our city planner and all that, right?
It is, but it should also have, the reason to have an advisory board is to help to advise our city staff on issues and to give their input from people who are passionate about these issues. So, you know, it doesn't make any sense to have advisory boards if we're not going to use them.
I just want to caution the fact that anyone on the code, on that board, who is going to benefit or does business in the city should not be the one to be advising how those codes are revised. Because then it comes back to them. We put them in a bad, you know.
Well, they shouldn't be on the board if they have
Well,
that
that's what
issue.
I'm saying.
Exactly.
So just be cautious.
Anything from Councilman Bobby Best?
Only may God bless John Sidney McCain. May he rest in peace.
I just
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is Frankie Bravo here? Is he here? He's here. Frankie Bravo, he just says he attended the council meeting tonight. He has an idea for the parking. So it's right here.
He emailed you?
He emailed me. Well, he emailed all of us. But I'm reading my emails now. And you know, this might be an idea. So maybe we can bring this up and discuss it with next time. The email's right here. He gave it to all council. And
I don't know.
I know. He gave it to council and the mayor. Sometimes you don't get everything we get.
No, he gives it to us.
But anyway, I'll see a lot of you people. If you want to meet me there 5:30, I'll be at Al's house, and I can walk over to your house, whatever. You give me a ride, whatever. We'll go over everything while I'm over there. So I'll be there around 5:30, and we'll see what you guys are talking about. And I got the pictures, and we'll see the powers to be if we can do anything.
There you go.
And we'll try. Okay, well, I'll try. Okay? You guys have I'm glad you guys stayed for the whole meeting. We don't get that. We don't get, even the paper stayed the whole meeting, and usually he runs off somewhere.
He usually sneaks out at about the 75% deal there, right? Yeah.
And he could quote me on that. This meeting's
Not
adjourned.
often.
Tom is up on the resetting the AC.
Okay, I'm sorry, the woman that spoke when?